Why do Australians have a monopoly on treating sleep apnea? I bet you did not even know that Australians invented the CPAP. They did. That's where it came from. And what we're going to talk about today is another way to address sleep apnea that is a lot less of a hassle at night and a lot less dehumanizing than having to wear a mask at night. I'm talking about our good old friend, the didgeridoo. The didgeridoo is an instrument that can actually help you with your sleep apnea. And not only could it possibly chase away every single person in your house so no one will ever complain about your snoring again because now they hate the sound of your didgeridoo, not only can it do that for you, but also it can reduce the severity of your sleep apnea and help you snore less and help you wake up more refreshed. Now, in this episode, I'm going to go over the benefits of using a didgeridoo for sleep apnea, but without having to go through all the hassle of learning a new instrument and making some very interesting noises. So we're going to go over a lot of great stuff today, the science, how it works, and how you can use the same principles as a didgeridoo right in the comfort of your own home. We'll do a live demonstration here together. So let's go ahead and dive in. First, focusing in on the didgeridoo, what it is, what it sounds like. Let's just go ahead and knock that out. I'll go ahead and play this for us now. So there you go. There you go. There's the lovely sound of a didgeridoo, just so we got that out of the way. The point being is that it's an instrument that you blow into, and there's some evidence to suggest that using a didgeridoo can actually reduce sleep apnea. So let's go ahead and look at that evidence. And in case you're wondering, the effectiveness of this treatment is actually enhanced if you use LED lights on the wall and a disco light that goes round as shown here. That's actually not true, but I just like the ambiance of that setting. What does the research say? They first found this connection because they were looking at people who were singers and wind instrument players, whether it's the flute or a didgeridoo, and they found that people who played these instruments or were singers actually had a lower risk and incidence of sleep apnea. Now, this is just looking at people. This is not a intervention or a randomized clinical trial where we take people with sleep apnea and start to make them play the flute or something. This is just looking at people in a point in time. So that's why it's really important to look at research that actually does this as an experiment, such as a randomized controlled trial would. So here is the main one. And I'll spare you a lot of the details, but they took a bunch of people, taught them the didgeridoo, and they did the didgeridoo. For the people who did not, they were didgeridon'ts. Now, all jokes aside, the results you can get from a didgeridoo are statistically significant. They can decrease your AHI, which is a marker of your sleep apnea. Mild is 5 to 15, moderate is 15 to 30, 30 plus is severe. It can decrease this by 6, which is a pretty good amount. Now, it's not something that's going to completely change and get rid of very severe sleep apnea, but it can improve the severity as shown in this clinical trial. And the reason it's not going to be a cure-all, get rid of everything instantly, is because this may not work for everyone. If you look at this study, and if you look at the individuals, not just averaging everyone, but everyone had a very individual response. Some people went from moderate all the way back to normal. Some people had no change at all. That's because the didgeridoo and other wind instruments and singing only work on one major aspect of sleep apnea, and it has to do with the top of your mouth known as your palate. And when we're looking at people with sleep apnea, something that happens very often or should happen very often is someone should try to see the back of your throat and your uvula. Now, if you look at this, people who are class 1, you can see their uvula more, and that means their palate is higher. Versus people who are in class 4, generally their palate is going to be lower. So someone who will respond better to a didgeridoo, they're going to be someone who has a lower palate. And in fact, when I'm working with people, this is one of the things I'm looking at to assess what is the need to do something about the position of their palate. Because what a didgeridoo will do, which is becoming my new favorite play on words, is effectively raise the palate, and also it will train these muscles on the side, known as your buccal muscles. If we look here at all different sorts of wind instruments, which may be a trumpet, a clarinet, I'm not actually sure which is which. I was never a band kid. I was never that talented. But nonetheless, they all focus around training the the lip muscles, buccal muscles, and as a result from the air pressure, it will actually stretch and strengthen that palate so that functionally you go from someone who is down here at a class 4 and you go up to class 3 and 2 so that you're not having your airway close at night. Because the more this is closed in, like a class 4, that means your airway is closer together. So it's just going to be that much more likely to close at night because you're breathing, you inhale, and it's going to suck those walls together. And if the walls of your airways are closer than they should be because of a lower palate, then that will cause a lot of problems. And so when we're actually looking more in depth here, the soft palate, this is the cross-sectional view. Like if you looked this way, but then to the side, that's what this would be indicating. The soft palate is what this is targeting. And specifically, I'll draw in here, when it's too low, like it is here, we want to be able to raise it a little bit higher and strengthen it. And that's what happens when you're using the didgeridoo. The mechanism in which this happens is through something called circular breathing. And this is a complicated thing. This is what makes using a didgeridoo so darn hard, is that it's this pattern of breathing out through your mouth while breathing in through your nose. Now, stick with me. That's not exactly how it is. How it is you're breathing out through your mouth, but that it's not being caused by your diaphragm moving. It's because of you're using these muscles, your cheek muscles, almost as a storage of air so that you can breathe in while pushing air out from here just from the movement of your cheeks. It looks funny, and if you were to try to actually do circular breathing, it is difficult. That's why when you look at the studies of trying to teach people didgeridoo, one of the most recent ones, not featured here, is just a feasibility study of can we even teach people this stuff? And the results from that one were pretty much along the lines of this is going to be difficult, this may not be the best idea, and in fact, this is very hard. Now, there is a way that you can get the same training of these muscles and lift your soft palate. And that's what we're going to do together in what I called modified circular breathing. So if you are anywhere where you can grab a straw and a cup of water, I would do so now. You can pause and come back. That's absolutely fine. I'll still be here. I'm just a video file on the internet. And I'm going to show you how to do this modified circular breathing so you don't have to watch 30 minutes of YouTube videos and try to figure out if you're actually doing circular breathing correctly. It's not the point. The point is that you can just take this one part, the most highest yield, effective ROI part of using a didgeridoo or any other wind instrument, and just incorporate it into your daily life if the palate is an issue for you. So what this looks like, to demonstrate it, all right, I'm going to breathe in through my nose. And then as I exhale, I'm actually going to exhale and then maybe just hold like a little bit, like 10, 20%. We'll do that again. Inhale, nose. Exhale, almost everything. And then, as you're exhaling, or I'll show you, you want to start to puff your cheeks. And this becomes like storing air in your mouth. Have you ever seen a chipmunk have like acorns in its mouth? That's basically the effect that you want to go for, except you're storing air. Right? So, we're here. And from this cheekiness, this cheekitude, that's going to be where you generate air pressure. So go ahead and puff your cheeks. And you see how I'm moving my cheeks and almost deflating. I'm not breathing out. I'm actually deflating my cheeks and sort of compressing them, which works these muscles. And the reason we're using this setup is that you can actually get feedback from the bubbles that you're doing it correctly. Because even doing modified circular breathing, it still is going to take some time and some reps. You may not get the first try. Don't worry, you're just human. So let's go ahead and do that 2 more times. So we're going to do this 2 more times. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to try to talk while I'm doing it. That makes it exceedingly more difficult and not very useful to follow along. So I'm going to just do it twice in a row. Puff the cheeks. And that's how it would work. That's just the basic mechanics of it. What you would end up doing for a session is breathing in through your nose and then think of exhaling into your cheeks. So breathe in through your nose. And then with those puffed cheeks, then you want to breathe through the water with the muscles only. So inhale through your nose. So on and so forth. Now, you can do that in a glass of water. You can do that just to start out. You don't always need to be doing it in water because ultimately, what you can do, you can take this just out of water, the straw, and you can just continue to do this without. Now, once you get the mechanics of it, the best way to do this, once again, without doing a didgeridoo, because it's not so much the breathing that's important, it's training these muscles and that increase in air pressure in your mouth, that will help with the palate. And in fact, as you do this and get more familiar with it, you will actually start to feel that elevate a little bit as you're doing that. So how to do this, you have your handy dandy straw. A metal straw actually will work the best for this. A plastic straw should do, and a paper straw I would imagine will do fine as well, as long as it's not too wet. So you would just inhale through your nose. Now the trick here, we're actually going to plug the bottom of this. This is an instrument you're not playing. And then breathe in through your nose to your cheeks. And you're trying to breathe out through the straw, but instead of using all your different respiratory muscles like your diaphragm, you're not contracting that. You're just using your cheek muscles. So once again, inhale, puff, and then use your mouth cheeks here. You're not using your diaphragm, you're not straining, you're not tensing your abs. It's just and you just do that. I would hold that for about 15 seconds. Do a normal inhale or catch your breath as needed, and then just do that again. And the best way to do this would be about 1 to 2 times per day for about 10 minutes. This is a little bit more involved, but if you really know your palate is a big part of what's going on for you, whether your doctor has told you, or maybe you open your mouth, you say ah, and you see that you're having something along a class 3 or a class 4, then this would be a pretty good sign that this would be right up your alley. Now again, I want to reiterate, this exercise is one of the best if your soft palate is one of the biggest contributors. But a lot of times your tongue is heavily involved as well. And I've talked about that a little bit in some other episodes, but I want to be able to take a deeper dive into the tongue because there's going to be certain aspects, whether how much you're able to stick your tongue out or stick it up or stick it down or to the side and right. There's all these different aspects that you need to consider. And if you don't, then you may be someone who's just blowing into a straw for weeks on end and not really getting anywhere because you may be missing a vital part of the entire picture of your muscles that includes your tongue. So that's something that's going to be in the next episode in this series, tongue exercises for sleep apnea. And my promise to you, it will be the least silly and the most efficient routine. I know we can go like and all of that, but I want you to have something that fits into your daily life. It's nice and easy so that you actually stick with it. It's easy, you get the result, and you just get on with your day. So if that is available and out already, then just go ahead and click the video on the screen as that shows up. If it's not, make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you do not miss a beat. And of course, if you want a personalized and a fast path out of sleep apnea once and for all, then I would encourage you to get your free one-on-one evaluation session. That's at ochnow.com/talk. Just fill out a form, pick a time and date, and then you have your call then. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.